AI is here, and the question is, where is it going? And I can tell you, we have a special expert here today. Mark Khater is a Cambridge professor, an AI pioneer, a founder of his own fintech, and on top of that, not only specializing with everything I just mentioned here, he also led projects, had also spoken at Harvard, MIT, the ETH in Zurich, so he really knows what he's talking about. Hello and welcome, Mark Khater.
Thank you for having me so much, Niels. Really appreciate that.
Thank you very much for taking the time, and I get straight into it. You have this very, very special line: machines think fast, humans think deep. Looking in today's management world, many people say, well, we are looking into, let's face it, some people look into replacing humans with AI. And with what you say, thinking fast but not deep, that might somehow be controversial in that space. Where do you get that line from? What is your thinking about that? What do you derive from that for today's leadership practice?
I've been looking at the way sort of thinking develops for a very long time, since 94. I started working in AI in 94. And there is that incredible distinction between the way machines approach a problem and humans approach a problem.
Hmm.
And that's why I'll put it out there now. I don't think machines will ever replace human beings. Machines are going to be there to augment the way that we do our work. They should be there to make our work simpler. They should be there to make our work faster. They should be there to create more space for us to become more human, more creative, more empathetic, exercise judgment, do what we really want to do and what we're interested in doing, but not there to replace human beings. Because as I said in that quote that you kicked off with, we think very differently. If we can say that machines think, because again, I don't think machines think, but inverted commas think, their thinking technique is of one particular kind, but we as humans approach a problem in a very, very different way. And that's what makes us irreplaceable, Niels.
Mm. So when you say machines don't really think, because many people, especially in today's world, say, well, I go on my AI and it has this deep thinking. So why is that not thinking when they even call it thinking? So humans are now primed to believe that AI is thinking. Why, in your opinion, you think that AI is not really thinking or only in high comma thinking?
So thinking really is a function of cognition, right? You perceive something, you interpret it, and then based on that, you take an action. And then from that particular loop, you learn and your process improves. That's thinking. Machines do none of that. What machines are doing at the moment, especially if we talk about large language model examples of AI, is that they're really looking at the statistical probability of words following one another. Now, the machine is learning from various amounts of information that is sitting there on the internet, and it's also learning from the way you interact with it. And because
Hmm.
it wants to please you, because it's actually the model is programmed to make you happy, it's programmed for you to go, right, that's a great answer. I'll stop asking you now. It starts to mimic the way you put words together. And so just imagine sitting in front of somebody who mimics you in every possible way and has what seems a lot more information than you do and agrees with you all the time. You're going to think, wow, I'm great. And the machine
Yeah.
thinks just as great as me. So
Mm.
that's really what we're doing. We're just reinforcing an egotistical pattern of confirmation.
Yeah, brilliant. So I saw that in your research at Cambridge, you draw a distinction between what we say is organizational competencies and also coordinations, actually how to get all of that together. So where do you think AI fits into that gap, and where do you think it probably makes things better or worse?
Really good question. So what I'll start with the sort of the last part of that question. What's really happening at the moment, and this is what scares me the most, is the fact that we're all going into our meetings, first of all, denying that we've ever used AI because it's taboo to turn up to the meeting having done your work through AI. We all use it, but none of us want to admit
We
to
all
using it.
pretend we
That's the
haven't
truth,
because it's all my
right?
work. It's all my
It's all
work.
my
Yeah.
work. I'm the smart one here. I'm
Yeah.
smarter than the rest of you. And we've all used the same model. We've all used the exact same data. And a lot of us sitting in one organization because of the recruitment process look pretty much the same, as in we've been to the same universities, we've had the same upbringing, all that sort of stuff. And then suddenly we turn up to the meeting and we're all agreeing, right? This is what I like to call silent correlation failure, right? This is when everyone in the
Excellent.
room actually correlates. We all think we're all very smart, we're all agreeing, and we're all aligning, coordinating, getting on the same page, but in fact, it's the wrong page. But because of the unification of the models, less diversity in our organizations, the AI accelerating this agreement, we're all catastrophically moving towards the wrong solution. You're seeing that play out right now, for example, in the Iran war. Same data sources, same models, same conclusions. Let's all get on the same page. Let's spend a ton of money to try to get something done. Oops, perhaps it was
Wrong
the wrong
page.
solution, wrong
Yeah.
page. So this is one of the biggest problems AI is causing at the moment, the over coordination, the over alignment, and ultimately silent correlation failure, which is
Mm.
something that I'm looking at Cambridge at the moment. So I think that's sort of what's going on, and that's how AI is playing that role in coordination, and that's how it's really aligning organizations very quickly. But the question is, are they getting aligned on the right thing?
Mm, excellent. I saw because especially what you said, but just right now, with more than 30 years of experience in that space. Let's face it, most people are looking into AI for 2, 3 years, probably, or even less.
Absolutely.
You gave a keynote which I saw sailing in the storm to senior European leaders on how to navigate AI, the transformation, etc., etc. So, what, in your opinion, is the core message here, and where do you think most leaders are getting it wrong at the moment when they approach this period? Because what I see at the moment is that quite a number of approaches are, let's say, rather interesting. When you have, let's say, a large German car manufacturer saying, "Oh, our approach is AI everywhere. Just put it into absolutely everything, anytime, anywhere, and AI is always better than any other solution you bring to the table." So, what is the core message of your keynote, and where do you think managers and leaders are getting it wrong at the moment?
So I think, first of all, there's three messages that I usually go to organizations and I try to point out, maybe four. So first message is AI is infrastructure, it isn't a technology. So AI is silently changing our energy grids, it's changing our energy consumption, it's changing our water consumption, it's impacting the way we need to teach people and the learning curves of individuals. In fact, AI is infrastructure. And this is why you keep hearing this whole AI is the next industrial revolution. I don't know if it is. I don't think anybody actually knows if it is. But what it's actually definitely doing is it's impacting infrastructure. The second most important thing that I tell them is signal always beats size or scale. So the whole idea of why we're sort of stacking up all these massive computers is because we're looking for a signal. It's not about the big computing power. It's because we're trying to get the right signal. And so if you can get the right signal, signal always beats scale. And if you want to get the right signal, then it all is about the refinery of data. The reason why we need a lot of massive computers in our organizations churning lots of information is because we don't spend enough time fixing the data. And so the hunt for the signal needs much stronger machines. And finally, I always say to them this, I say, listen, deploying AI to cut your costs by 5 to 20%, that's not a strategy. That's an accounting exercise, right? You
Hmm.
haven't really thought about it carefully enough. That's not an AI strategy. That's not a transformation strategy. That's an accounting exercise. You've got to be super careful while you are refining your accounting. What sort of capabilities in the organization are you destroying? So these are really, these tend to be the 4 points we talk about and how I sort of try and get leaders to get that paradigm shift when they're looking at AI.
Yeah, brilliant. When we talk about leadership development right now, what do you think leaders, because what I see at the moment often is people say, okay, look, there's this AI thing. So I do an online course on Copilot. Got it. I think I figured it out. What do you think leaders should develop in themselves and their people? Not talking about technical training, but human capabilities. What, in your opinion, are the key changes they need to do about their own transformation right now?
What's incredibly important is I don't think leadership has actually ever changed in what it's supposed to be. As boring as that sounds, right? But leadership is at the end of the day, it is about exercising judgment. It is about integrity. It is about accountability. It is about empathy. It is about strategic planning. And those things haven't changed and won't change with AI. Those remain the core DNA of a good leader. But really, what the leaders have to deal with more today is the fact that there is a lot of noise and and this big feeling of things moving very fast. And when you are sort of trying to sort of exercise those five things in a high speed environment with information overload, the job becomes more difficult. But at the end of the day, the whole idea is actually those core DNA aspects of a leader but at speed. And this is where the depth of thinking needs to be a lot deeper, a lot clearer. And I think, if anything, leaders need to surround themselves with more diverse thinkers that enable them to challenge the models, challenge the outputs, and also, to a great extent, become contrarians to where a lot of the other leaders are going with this whole hype of I want AI, I want it now. I don't know why I want it, but I'm a fear of missing
Hmm.
out.
Yeah. Excellent. I saw, especially when we talk about diversity now, correct me if I'm wrong here, but as far as I saw, you're fluent in Arabic, Hebrew, and English. Is that correct?
Yes, correct.
Is there a difference in the whole discussion regarding AI depending on the cultural context? Let's say
Really, really
Gulf,
great
Europe,
question.
Anglo-American, anywhere we could go. Is there a difference regarding the same topic based on culture?
You're, my God, the questions you ask are incredible. Absolutely spot on.
I
So
prepare for these interviews, sir.
oh, do you? Oh, do you? My God, it's incredible. No, no, no. A really good question because a lot of what we're seeing today is models that have been trained on English.
Yeah.
Now, if you, for example, look at the Arab world, 300 million Arabic speakers, but only 2% of the sources used to train the models are actually in the Arabic language. Our models will inherit the languages we train them in. They will inherit the bias in the data. And sooner or later, these models will drift, the data outputs from them will drift, that data will go back on the internet, and slowly truth drifts. And that is an incredibly dangerous thing. And so it is incredibly important, again, when leaders, use these models, look at the outputs to examine the bias in the outputs. You see, unfortunately, we look at computers, the way we've worked with those machines is incredible. We started with the abacus, right, to do maths. That moved into the calculator, which never made mistakes. The calculator became a computer. Now, everyone perceived computers as super calculators. Surely they can't be wrong. And then AI came out of the computer. So it must be right all the time.
Hmm.
Oops. And that is the problem. This is what we're inheriting here. This perception that the machine is smarter than the human. Not
Mm.
true. And we need to examine it very carefully, not just examine the outputs, but the biases in the inputs as well.
Mm. Absolutely. Two more questions here. When now leaders think, okay, look, especially leaders who now get into the job market and they develop themselves and they probably, some of them even approach me and say, look, I need to be a leader. I need to have critical thinking. However, I see myself relying more and more on what the AI tells me, agreeing with the AI. So when I'm a leader, how can I protect and sharpen my own judgment skills when more and more AI is basically built into every single product I have on any device today? How do I protect myself?
Yeah, I think that the problem now, as we said, is the sort of the idea that I am agreeing with the AI. The reality is the AI is agreeing with you because that's
Mm,
what it's trained to do. Now it's trained to end that loop of querying, right? Otherwise, you'll just query all day long. So the best way to do it is to train the model to ultimately agree with you. And I'm sure you've witnessed it yourself. You go back, you say something, AI responds, you ask it again, you tell it it was wrong, and then apologizes and says, actually, I get your point. You are right. Let
yeah.
me now create a piece for you that agrees with you. So the reality is the AI is kind of looping out to agree with you.
Mm,
And we know the danger of that. This is like leaders surrounding themselves with yes men. Now, we've seen and we're seeing this play out right in front of us in various countries and political situations. Leaders that surround themselves with yes men. And that's what
yeah.
we're seeing. Leaders surrounding themselves with yes models. And so here's
Mm,
the thing, the role of the devil's advocate, the role of sort of, querying the opposite, the role of diversity. And I don't mean just, the external diversity of color or gender or race or age or whatever, but diversity in thinking. So leaders more than ever need to surround themselves with devil's advocates and diverse people and challenge what seems to be the dominant truth in the room. Because again, I take you back to this whole silent correlation that's happening without us noticing, and it's going to lead to catastrophic results.
mm. Absolutely. Of course, one last question I have to ask. When now organizations say, hey, I think Mark could really help us here for our next event as a keynote speaker, consultant, or coach, how can people get in touch with you?
Well, my email is mark2, very easy, mark2 at cam.ac.uk, and my LinkedIn, which I think you have and probably be noted somewhere as well. So just reach out and I'll respond immediately and get in touch.
Brilliant. We see AI is here and it's all about dealing with it the right way. So at the end of this podcast and at the end of this video cast, there's only one thing left for me to say. Mark, thank you very much for your
Well,
time.
thank you for having me. Really appreciate it. Thank you so, so much.